What was I talking about? Oh yeah, what I've been working on. You guys probably know I released some stuff about ZimaBlade, some of my thoughts on that, some of the things that were good, some of the things that were not so good, some things that are interesting. It's actually back there on my bench running the screen on your... This is so confusing. Your right? That side. That side. It's hard for me to tell which one it is because I'm looking at, I think, a flipped mirror of this. Anyways. That machine over... Oh, now I'm really doing it wrong. That machine right there is still running it's running the ZimaBlade. I have a dual boot ZimaBlade machine running Windows 11 plus Ubuntu, the latest Ubuntu 23.10. Runs great. Anyways, but I just have that back there for a bunch of testing, flashing firmware, wiping disks, and then the occasional put my stream up in the background because I don't know what to put in the background type background. Anyways, but that's what I've been working on. If you got something you've been working on, throw it in chat. Let's talk about it. We'll go through activities and then yeah, let's get into chat real quick. So these happened right before the stream, I think. Milk, Thomas, Thomas, the Jesta, Acceleration, Summit Kuman Nagar. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Piece of Geek, yeah, thanks for the resub. 38 months it looks like. Tier 1, thank you so much. Let's go. Thank you. Xavier's D, hey, Tier 1, 23 months. Man, almost 2 years. Let's go. You mean I actually get to show up? UPS better not show up with my NVIDIA A10 while the streaming is going on or I'm out. Hey now. No, I would be out too. I would be out of my own stream if UPS was showing up. Not on my own stream, but someone else's, maybe. You can still put us on the background. Like it works on mobile, but anyways, I know what you mean. Which is a good call out too. If you're new to the stream doesn't go all day and then some. Goes roughly an hour. I started a little bit after, I'd say about 12:15, 12:20ish Central Time, Chicago time, Minneapolis time. Go about 1:15, so about an hour. Try to run this kind of like a meeting, not trying to take up all your day, and I know you got stuff to do, so. Anyways, so Xavier's D, if you have to leave, totally fine, dude. iLoot, how's it going, man? Tier 1, 38 months. Let's go. Thank you so much, iLoot. And man, you and PC Geek, both 38 months. Thank you guys so much for all you do. Not only here on Twitch, but also in Discord. So I appreciate it. Thank you. Charcoal, hey, thanks for the follow and followed up by the Prime sub. Thank you so much, new Prime sub, Charcoal. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yakto, Prime sub, 13 months. Let's go. 1 year, 1 month. Yakto, if you've seen my tweet and post and Mastodon post and X post and Instagram post about my new Switch Aggregation Pro, you can thank Yakto. Yakto was selling one. I couldn't pass it up. It was a good deal, and so Yakto, your old Switch Aggregation Pro has a nice new home in my server rack. Actually, it's not so great right now. It's only connected. It's barely connected, just enough to adopt it and deploy some firmware. But I am gonna be lagging everything that I have now and using that for like my core switch for all my 10 gigs. So thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, thanks for selling it. Cause thanks. Yeah. Thanks for selling it. I do appreciate it. I was on the fence about buying one for so many months, and then once someone told me you had one for sale, I was like, yeah, I think I'll buy it. Modest Tim, how's it going, man? Good to see you. Tier 1, happy Saturday to you too. 15 months, let's go. How's it going, Modest Tim? He's building the awesome still. He's building the awesome all day, every day. So let's get into chat. Let's see what you're working on. If you got something you wanna talk about, throw it in chat. And we'll just go through it and try to read them. Because I'd love to see what you're working on. Hope there's lots of HomeLab stuff. If not, that's okay too. Because man, I feel like I've kind of been away from normal HomeLab stuff. It's time to get back. I've been building up my multiple environments from my server room to my studio room and my studio rack to prepare for the next stuff. And I feel like the last 2 months of stuff is just like prepare and commitments. I overcommitted myself. Anyways, Loki Abu, hey, how's it going? Sup? How's it going? Good to see you. Boom, Mr. DJ Keck. All right. Is it? Yeah, Mr. DJ Keck. Boom. How's it going? Mr. DJ Keck, would love to hear your thoughts about the ZimaCube. Yeah, I'll give my thoughts. Hey, thank you so much. Man, Randoneering, how's it going? How's it going, Randy? Randoneering. Looking for a 24-port PoE switch to replace some Netgear cheapo one. Any recommendations? I was trying to cheap out and looking for repurposed enterprise switches, but Unify would rather not rely on the cloud to log in the switch. Hey, so a couple things. You don't have to rely on the cloud to log into the switch. It has local access. So just gonna throw that. I mean, that's just a myth. Because I think after they had that one huge cloud outage where one of their data centers burned down, they enabled offline. If it wasn't already, they made it more obvious. So, anyways, you know what my recommendation is going to be, and it's not because I'm a shill for Unify because they don't pay me. They have given me something for free before. Which you haven't seen yet, but I mean, I probably have $5,000 wrapped up in them before they even sent me one thing for free. So, you know, I'm a huge fan of Unify. I think it's nice. Their switches in general, like, say what you want about UDM Pro and their gateways and all that stuff and cloud this, you know, but I think a lot of people agree that their switches are really nice, and so I think they are. Whether or not that's a good value, that's up to you. I do have I have exactly what you're looking for. That was my first switch I bought from them, was the 24-port PoE switch. I think it's great. I don't want to say I'm biased because I have opinions, and I have had some Cisco stuff in the past, but I've never had anything this new or nice as Unify. So maybe I am biased in the fact that I've only played with 2 switches in my entire life, 2 brands. And that goes way back. I mean, did a lot of Cisco stuff way back in the day when I first got into tech support and network administration stuff. We're talking, I won't even tell you the years, but yeah, so there might be better recommendations for other people. I will say, if you're going to cheap out on that type of stuff, I mean, it's the typical, it's this triangle, right? You want something that's quiet, you want something that's efficient, and you want something that's cheap. And it's this sliding scale. Well, if you're going to go for cheap, you're going to lose some efficiency and quiet, noise, and vice versa. You know, if you're starting to slide towards, I should show the diagram instead of doing this, but this is kind of fun. If you're sliding that scale over to, you want something quiet and efficient, the cost is going to go up. So, anyways, there are other people. I'm sure the networking channel has tons of opinions, and I'm sure the networking channel in Discord has lots of advice on what they've tried in the past before, because I know that some people have tried some switches because they were cheap on eBay, only to find out they screamed the whole entire time, and then now they're looking for something else. So anyways, dude, I think we could talk about this all day. Thank you for the Prime sub. I appreciate it. Okay, so Mr. DJ Keck, I'm just gonna say DJ Keck, because that's a lot of qualifiers. Mr. and DJ. Let me grab some coffee. Yes, I'm still drinking coffee. No, I didn't just wake up. I drink coffee until it's gone, which could be all day. So let's see. My thoughts about the ZimaCube. Sure. So if you're not familiar with the ZimaCube Kickstarter, it's been advertised. It's kind of been out there as a placeholder. But I'll say they just launched it. Ice Whale, same people who did Zima Blade, Zima Board. But this one is actually a home server and more. And my thoughts is I think this one could be pretty good. I know a lot of people complained, if you're going to complain about something about the Zima Blade, it's going to be, it's an old processor. It's not powerful enough. It's, you name it. It's going to be those things that I named off in that video. And if you're going to complain about the Zima board, you're going to say, well, it's the cost. It's a little bit high. It's a weird form factor. You name it. But when you get into ZimaCube, now it's a 6-bay NAS that's running on a Core i5, 12th gen Intel, desktop CPU, which is totally fine. Can run DDR4 or DDR5, so it's a super modern platform, super modern processor. It has USB-C, It has quad 2.5 gigabit NICs, which is an interesting choice. Quad is an interesting choice because even if you lag them, I mean, you're still getting one of, oh, my dog. Oh, yeah, UPS is here. Gotta go. It actually probably is UPS. Oh, buddy, he does not like him. He does not like him. He's the best guard dog ever. He even guards stuff too well because he'll attack me, which is totally fine. And I'm just kind of like, hey, he's a dog. This is fine. This is like, he's built this way to protect stuff. And if he bites me every now and then, that's fine too. But going back to this, it looks cool. I love to see one. I think I might get one ahead of time. And I'd love to see it. You know, and it has PCI Express slots. It has slots for NVMe's. I mean, all the things you would think of. So think of like you were building a pretty nice desktop system with a 12th gen Intel Core i5, and you had a decent motherboard, and you had a pretty good looking case. My one concern, looking at it, you know, is the power adapter. You know, that's my one concern when I spotted it in their specs. And if you didn't see it, you know, it's using a barrel plug, which I'm kind of like, why barrel plug? You know, why barrel plug? And I know it's probably because they have some specialized power adapter or something like that. And that's where I'm kind of like, but hey, if they send me one, I will see it. Sorry, he is really freaking out, and I think this is something for me, and I'm actually excited to go get it. So anyways, I won't spend a ton of time on it. It looks interesting. If they send me one, which I think they might, I will definitely have my thoughts and let you guys know my thoughts. So let's see. Oh, I'm getting close to here. If I skipped your message, I think it's because this thing is like auto cleaning my stuff. Anyways, if I skipped your message in the beginning, I apologize. I'm getting close to the end of what this thing's history has, so I better talk fast. Got a GPU from Yocto. Speaking of buying things from Yocto, a new R730, including 24 800 gig SSDs for JBOD that I plan to sell. Wow, man. 24 800 gig. That sounds awesome, man. That sounds really awesome. PC Geek says, I'm tinkering with Kate's cluster and maybe testing out running a Proxmox cluster on some small form factor PCs using the NAS for VM storage. That sounds awesome too. That sounds awesome. I think you just need to make sure. So if you're gonna use NAS for VM storage, you know this, but you know you're gonna need at least 2.5, maybe 10 gig if you're doing iSCSI, basically remote storage for your VMs. And I think you got that. So yeah, be interesting. You'll have to let me know. That's something I've wanted to do, and then for me it was just like every time I evaluated it, I found that just throwing SSDs on that was a cheaper, easier solution because I didn't have 10 gig at the time, but I think you do. So yeah. Xavier's T, I'm working on all that stuff. Yeah, me too, man. Me too. Also playing Fortnite since it's OG Chapter 1 back to 2018 this season. I saw they had like record-breaking player counts of people online, which is awesome. That is awesome. I think it was like 3.5 or 3.6 million people or something at once. Can you imagine like the infrastructure needed for that? Oh my goodness. And then like, yeah, it sounds awesome. You'll have to let me know how it goes. The Chubby Panda Zero, I'm working on implementing OAuth 2 for Docker mail server. Awesome. That is awesome. That sounds tough. Because like OAuth in general, like there's a spec, but everyone kind of like, you know, bends the spec to their will. And kind of makes I don't want to say their own spec, but you know they make it work. But anyways, I hope you get it going. Mail server, that sounds awesome. In Docker too. I don't know if it's MailCow or something. I assume it's MailCow or something else, or Docker mail server. I think there's one called Docker mail server. Exactly what you said. So it'd be interesting. Yeah, I'd love to hear about it. Anybody testing PVE kernel 6.5 over here? If that's the latest one that was released like 2 days ago, I am. I went crazy and updated everything yesterday, so I don't know if it is. Xavier D, Techno Tim, you know your Steam interrupted my watching Bosch Legacy Season 2. Ever seen the show? It's pretty good. I haven't. Bosch, so I assume it's motor automotive. I'm just guessing. I haven't seen it. If it's Bosch Legacy, I don't know. Automotive show. I'm totally guessing. I don't know. I haven't seen it though, as you could tell. DJ Keck working on setting up my virtual Windows Server domain environment to get my Windows system admin skills sharp again. Hey, that sounds awesome. That does sound awesome, and I know exactly what you mean. There might be people who did Windows in the past, and now they want to sharpen their Windows skill again, and so they're exploring it in their home lab. Windows has changed a ton, even since I've been doing Windows administration. I still didn't fix the problem I have with my with my text getting too high. But yeah, that is awesome. I know what you mean. Windows has changed a ton. I wouldn't even know where to begin. How to administer it. I mean, I kind of know where to begin, but if I were to do it, it'd be 100% headless, headless Windows, like no GUI, I forget what it's called, but Windows has a mode where you can install it minimally and then manage everything from PowerShell. That's the way I would go, because I think that's the way that people automate stuff, and that's the way that I think Windows is administered now. I'm this is not coming from any experience at all. It's just coming from me imagining how I would want to manage Windows in 2023. It'd be, terminal and PowerShell, or Ansible or something else, where you could script the whole thing. On Proxmox, of course. All right. Oh, yeah. All right. So, yeah, it's in your home lab. No joker. Can you do an updated video on how to pass an Intel GPU to a VM Docker for Plex? I kind of did, and it's out there. So I haven't done one specifically. So I haven't done hey, here's a Proxmox video, a tutorial type, but I talked about it and I have notes. If you look at my mini PC Proxmox built on a Protectly, I do it there. And then if you look at my mobile home lab one, I do it there. So in two places, I set up Proxmox and I pass through an Intel integrated graphics card to a virtual machine. There is a caution, though. There are some models of Intel Iris, or the Intel video card, Intel HD, whatever, that Intel didn't build the right drivers for Windows. So there is a quirk, and I've noticed it. It's on 11th gen. If you have 11th gen, I have 3 11th gens, and I didn't know this until I got into it, is that there is a long outstanding bug that Intel needs to fix their drivers on Windows, so when you pass it through, it'll work properly. It works on Linux, it works on 10th gen, 12th gen, 13th gen, just not 11th gen. So anyways, And this is, you're talking just for Docker only. Yeah. So I haven't even, so throw all that out the window. If you're doing it in a virtual machine, those two videos will help you. If you're doing it bare metal and then just passing it through to Docker, I don't have any documentation on that. But I can point you to some, but I'm sure you've looked at it if you tried. But in general, the way it works, it's, bare metal. Make sure the Intel graphics card shows up. Use the integrated, the Intel GPU tools to make sure it can detect it. And then they should have a Docker container that you spin up that exposes, the Intel hooks to any other Docker container. But I'm just speculating. Because I haven't done the Intel version of that ever, honestly. I've done virtual machine GPU pass through for NVIDIA and Intel, and I've done the Docker NVIDIA for Docker GPU for NVIDIA, and that's same idea. So I haven't done the Intel actually. That's I think you found like one thing I haven't done yet that I know of. There's lots of stuff I haven't done. I just mean in particular, like as far as my documentation goes in this area. I'm happy to help though. Point you at documentation though. Throw it in the containers channel. I'm sure there's someone there in Discord too who has done it. Makes you look younger. I'll take it. I'll take it. Xavier D, also curious, how many rack space filters do you have in your rack? I've been thinking about making some wood fillers that need someone to make my first step. You're interested. What type? Finish, oak, cherry, black, painted, etc. Hey, thank you, Xavius. I can't even get tall enough to look down on this comment. Almost. So rack fillers assumes you have empty space in your rack. No, I'm kidding. So my studio rack, I will have 0 space left. I actually took my UPS out of my studio rack so I could get 2 more U. I should have bought an 18U rack for my studio rack. I bought a 12. And then I was like, oh crap, I can't fit one more thing in there. So anyways, I pulled my UPS out of there. And then I was like, yeah, it's probably good I got a 12 because before you know it, I'll have 32 in here. And it's like, what the heck am I doing in here? This is supposed to be just like workstation stuff. Anyways, and then downstairs in my big server rack, I'll have to count how much space I have open. Dude, I don't even know. If you're making wood ones, yeah, I don't even know. I have no clue how much space I have. I want to see them. You got to show me on yours first. It sounds pretty awesome. I think Craft Computing did something similar too, and he actually uses his laser to burn in something on his panels too, which was pretty cool. So, but it sounds awesome. It sounds awesome. Anyways, what type of wood am I? I'm kind of a maple person, just keeping it clean, no stain, almost like bamboo, just natural wood. I'm sure they put like a little honey stain on there or something. But I like a lighter, brighter wood. That's just me. I mean, our trim downstairs is all dark wood, and that is awesome. It's stained and stuff. I love it. But for my setup, I like light and bright. For my backgrounds though, I like dark mode, but for my actual workspace, I like light mode for some reason. It just feels cleaner. It's like a white car versus black car thing. Like I have a white car, I love it. I guess I didn't mute that noise, but one day I will find how to mute that noise. Anyways, I have a white car, I love it. Interior is dark, exterior is white, just because it always looks clean. Yeah. Rare Tim, yeah, it is Rare Tim having this off. It give me a couple of weeks and it'll be back. It takes a long time to grow anything on my head, on my face. It takes a long time. So, yeah, no glasses too. Oh my goodness. That was spam. I think that got deleted too. Anyways, Babyface Tim, yeah, Babyface. I wish. Doesn't feel like it. Let me get this cough out. Okay. Babyface, yeah, I'll take it. Oh yeah, thanks for taking care of that, PC Geek. Yakto, just getting my gaming rig all loaded with games for PDX LAN this weekend. Gonna be doing my Extra Life fundraiser this weekend. Really excited for it. Yeah, man, we talked about this when we were talking about the Switch. Sounds awesome. So PDX LAN next weekend. You're going to be doing an Extra Life fundraiser that weekend. Really excited for it. So I'm excited for it too. I'll definitely check it out. Next weekend is, so I would say the 11th. So PDX LAN next weekend, 11th. Check out Yakto doing an Extra Life stream, raising money for charity. So yeah, what's not to like about LAN gaming, charity, and Yakto? I mean, it's the quadfecta. If whatever that would be called if there was a trifecta, it's quadfecta. But yeah, I'll definitely check it out. You got to remind me though. What were you for Halloween? Yeah, good question. Oh man, it was a deep cut on Star Wars. Well, maybe not a deep cut, but I was a Torgruta. So in Star Wars, like Ahsoka. So Ahsoka is this species called a Torgruta, and so I was like the male version of that. I mean, I'm talking, my wife went all out. I should show a picture of it somewhere. But my wife went all out. So she was actually Ahsoka, kind of, sort of. She was a Togruta, but she painted herself all purple. I mean, this was like cosplay level stuff. And then she made the whole entire headpiece and like put like foam in it and rice at the end. So it kind of felt natural. I mean, mine was so huge. But anyways, it was pretty fun. Painted my face, all the designs. I had like a Jedi outfit. It was like an Obi-Wan outfit, pretty much. It was pretty awesome. It was pretty awesome. I think we learned this year, we keep like one-upping ourselves every time. Well, she does. She makes the costumes. I just put them on, and we keep one-upping ourselves every year. And I think we're at the point where we're like, okay, like if we're gonna have a party, we can't have like these crazy costumes too, because it's like putting way too much effort on two things at once, and which is why I couldn't stream. So, anyways, it was pretty awesome. I should find a photo. I'll put it on Instagram today. How about that? I'll put it on Instagram today and look for it. I'll look for it. I gotta find one. I mean, anyways, if you're watching Ahsoka, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you've seen the Clone Wars animated series, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't like Star Wars and you don't know what Torgruta is, it's those one species that have the long tentacles hanging off their head. So yeah, it was pretty fun. It was pretty fun. A lot of people were like, "Whoa, that is a deep cut." And what are you? PC Geek, thanks. Yeah, no problem. Happy Saturday. It is my right. All right. Wipe all the discs. Totally. That is what I used it for. How Weston? How's it going? Hello. My plan for November, I like it. You're planning a month sprint. My plan for November is Terraform my lab VMs and LXCs with automatic DNS record management, so it's always DNS on a new level. Yeah, it's next level DNS. Because then if you need to fix DNS, it's going to be like, oh, let me fix my Terraform real quick to deploy that through CI to then like get my DNS fixed. And I always, it's this push and pull between, do I use Terraform for everything or do I do some things through the UI? And I kind of think you almost have to go all in with some of it. If you start managing stuff with Terraform, it's kind of weird because, I would say even Ansible too. Ansible a little bit less because in Ansible you specify your desired state, but in Terraform you actually inspect and preserve that state, and that state is preserved if you preserve it with your Terraform stuff. So that's where it's a little tough for me. Like I was doing some DNS magic just the other day, setting something up on a subdomain for one of my public things. And I was like, do I do this through Terraform or do I do it real quick? You know what? I chose do it real quick through the UI. And then on top of that, Cloudflare had all the issues. It was like the worst ever for me on the Cloudflare outage. Was that yesterday? No, that was Thursday. I lost pretty much a whole day because what I was doing was very Cloudflare heavy. And it's hard to not do anything on the internet that isn't Cloudflare heavy. And the weird thing is, like, one of the services I was using, only some of their APIs were protected behind Cloudflare. Not their front end, not their main APIs, but some of their APIs, some of them, like for managing shops and stuff like that. And so I was doing some Shopify stuff, and I didn't even know things were broken. I was like, great, it's working, until I did like step 4 of this, like, this intro onboarding stuff. I'm like, oh, so it's like, all day long I'm like testing out, can I get to step 4 yet? Fill out all this information. It was tough for me. I'm sure it was tough for a lot of other people. For me, it was more annoying, but yeah, it was tough. It's always DNS. Yeah, I agree. It always is. Tim, have you used Cassandra at all? Is it easy to get going in an HA config as it looks? So Cassandra, wow. So I haven't in a long time. So when I worked at a large retailer that is headquartered in Minneapolis, I worked with the team who did all of their stuff, like all of their database stuff was in Cassandra. I haven't. I mean, personally, no. I mean, I've done a lot of Postgres, MySQL, Mongo, but teams that were around me that had services had Cassandra. And so that's my experience with Cassandra, is just hearing them talk about Cassandra. So I don't know, but I will say that running databases HA is getting easier and easier because people know that's a huge pain point. And so now I think maintainers of databases are trying to make that easier because they want more adoption of their stuff. So But personally, I haven't. I think, you know, is it really easy as it looks? Maybe to get it going. But the care and feeding is always going to be tough. You know, it's always going to be tough. It is for me for Postgres too, even for Mongo. You know, I have a 3-node cluster for my databases, for all my databases. You know, and if it depends on how they're set up. If you have multiple writes or, you know, multiple masters, or if you have just, you know, readers that are replicas. There's always quirks. And so, yeah, getting it going might working, but you might find it's quirk. Like if the master's down and you only have one master that writes, then your databases are read-only until that master comes back up, which, is still not great. So, you know, you just have to test it out. I can't speak for it. I'm just speaking generically about most databases that I've worked with. But I will say, though, like I said, most developers or maintainers of systems, especially databases, are making bootstrapping a lot easier because that on-ramp needs to be super smooth. If the on-ramp isn't smooth, people are going to be like, well, if I can't even start this thing up, what the heck am I going to do in 2 weeks when I'm actually using it? So I think that's, you know, it's DevX or DX, you know, developer experience. Everyone's trying to improve their developer experience. Because if you improve that, you know, and you improve onboarding and you make it easy for developers, you know, they're going to stick around. So you excited? Yeah, he's excited. He's excited to get all that stuff up. Hey, Spectre 3D, finally get to catch a stream. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. So that means it's your first time. Hey, welcome. Thank you. Xavier D, I still got 110K images to tag and metadata for, so I can do the model training to get started. I know you're doing some AI. You're doing some local AI stuff, and I'm generally interest is piqued for sure. Now you need to get 25 gig on the NAS. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. That switch that I bought from Yocto does support 25 gig. It has 4 25 gig ports and 24 SFP plus 10 gig ports. Those 25 gigs aren't going to be used. I mean, they're not. I'll just say it right out. Because, yeah, I would have nothing to connect it to. Even if I did my NAS, right? If I connected 25 gig ports to my NAS, then, you know, I would have to have multiple people connected to my NAS with 10 gig. And, you know, it's me and my wife. I'd have to get the dogs. The dogs would both have to get a couple of 10 gig machines, and I'd have to show them how to transfer files, and we would all like do some video editing at once. I don't know, even video editing would be pushing it. We'd copy and paste a couple of files and see, you know, that link almost gets saturated. Oh, it would get saturated if we had 4 people. So, but man, it is tough. It is tough. First time seeing you with no glasses on. Yeah, I apologize. I looked for him and I was like, nah, gonna do it live. I don't always need glasses. This is like the perfect scenario right here for me to where I don't really need glasses because I have things kind of turned up in my UI. And plus sitting at a desk, it's the perfect scenario for me because everything's equidistant. I can control where things are. It's when I'm like moving around where I'm like, okay, yeah, I got to put the glasses on. But I have things pretty big, unusually big on here because this is a dual 4K monitor. So it's like, I don't even know what's normal anymore. I just turn it up until it feels right. And now I'm kind of like, okay. Oh yeah. Hey, Bill Nash, thanks for the, man, tier 1, 19 months sup, nerds. Are your glasses... Wear your glasses and your goatee. Did you check the bathroom sink? Yeah, I think, yeah, I better check the tub too. I know it all fell off. I know. I was saying earlier that I shaved for a Halloween costume last week, and then I was looking for my glasses. Like, I don't even have my goatee. I'm just not going to use them. And glasses, you know, it's tough to film or do anything with glasses on because you get tons of reflections. And I know there are tricks you can do. But when you have lights and screens on every side of you, the reflections are just, it might not be annoying to you, but when I see them, for me, on myself, it's kind of annoying. So, it's tough. Dude, Trevor. Sup, Tim, working on Cisco ISE now, specifically the guest portal, trying to get to where I can get your credentials sent via SMS using Telnix. Awesome. Man, so Cisco ISE now, man, you're deep in it. think last week you were trying to do, or 2 weeks ago, you were working on the Kubernetes stuff for not Cisco, but VMware's Kubernetes version. I forget what it's called, but that is awesome. So trying to get to where you can sign up or get your credentials sent via SMS using Telnix. I don't know Telnix. I assume it's an SMS provider like a lot of them. That sounds awesome. So sign-ups, reset your credentials, probably click a link in an SMS. That is awesome. That is awesome. I've done very few SMS things. I think I used Plevo. Plevo was a service that I used at a company I worked for SMS stuff. And it was nice because they actually had APIs. So we could call an API to send a text message, you know, for like reminders or sign-ups or reset passwords, a lot of the stuff you're doing. But we could call it in code, which was nice because, you know, then you got an API and you could do whatever you want and call it when you want. But that sounds awesome. Hey, thanks for the resub. 2 years, man. I appreciate it. 2 years. 2 years. Thank you so much. And Kara Quinn. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. Randoneering. I think I read that one. What love to hear what is everyone's top or 10 fave HomeLab projects. Getting a little bored and looking for something to get into. Hey, I have a list. I have a list of if you combine them, 30. 30. But it, you know, it's you know, it just depends. It depends on what you're into. I think there's something for everyone out there. And if you're really looking for like, hey, you want to self-host some stuff, look at the awesome self-hosted README, because that is awesome on GitHub. I mean, it's everything you could even think of, everything possible. And they group them into categories too. So if you want to do some self-hosting stuff, look at awesome self-hosted. If you want to do automation and stuff like that, I mean, sure, there's tons of ideas out there too. But yeah, it's there's a whole world out there. What Cole said, I didn't even see what Cole said. Xavier T, Aruba S2500. Here we go. PoE 100 to 150 on eBay. Yeah, you got to watch out for the noise though on that one's. Yeah, MikroTik's very good too. Yeah. I apologize. That was my cat. Hey, that is awesome. Hello, Yakto's cat. Thank you. I don't speak cat, but if I did speak cat, that would probably say, "Hey, everyone." No worries. That is awesome. You don't need to apologize for that. I'm glad it was your cat. That's pretty awesome. I'm in the process of trying to make a HomeLab. I have taken some stuff from my job that they had sitting in a storage and going to throw out. Hey, this is how it all starts. An HP 2920 48 gig PoE plus switch. Hey, there you go. 48 port PoE. I love it. Plus. Yeah. And a 12 4 terabyte WD red hard drives along with 2 NUCs. Still learning how to make use of everything. You got a pretty good start there. You got a pretty good start. A good switch, lots of drives, and 2 Intel NUCs. Man, those Intel NUCs, they last forever. They last forever. I don't even want to ask what version it is because I have a 5th gen I just gave away and it was still fine running Linux, more than fine. And I ended up giving it away on Twitter to someone here local. But I mean, 5th gens is pretty early on and those things are still awesome. I have a couple left 11th gen, so if you have anywhere between, I'd say 4th to 11th, you got an awesome machine. That's how awesome they are. I'm a huge fan, been for a long time. Yep, and I need new drives. Upgrading from 6 2 terabyte drives to something better. I assume bigger and better. Xavier, I've actually been thinking of switching over to MikroTik. To be honest, not sure yet. I want 16 port SFP plus switch and then 24 port 1 gig switch. Oh yeah. Ooh, nice. Look at that chat thingy. Yeah. Let's see. Sorry, I got to get this name right. Arpal Pinoy. Arpalm Pinoy. Got cut off. Hey, Tim, love your content. This is my first time making it here live. I got the problem I'm trying to tackle. I followed your guide on creating wildcard certificates with Cert Manager and Traffic, and for the most part, I got it working now. And comprehend the basic structure of deploying Helm charts. I then tried installing Rancher, but the wild certificate isn't applying to the Rancher UI. Yeah, I think that's because when, so the Rancher UI exposes it on like a native Kubernetes ingress object, and when you use Traffic, they have their own custom CRD that is an ingress route. I mean, if you're using that. So what I typically do is I expose it. Yeah. So you'll have to create your own ingress for it. You'll have to create your own ingress for it to be able to expose it properly. And I think PC Geek was just going through this. He was just going through this. So yeah, I would either post in our Discord and in the Kubernetes channel, but that's what you'll need to do. From a high level, create an ingress route like you typically would for traffic, and then expose, you know, point it to the Rancher service, which should already be there, and then delete the one that Rancher created for itself, because they did it a different way. So, but yeah, I think a lot of people have been through this because, you know, because differences, I'll say that. But let me know. That should fix it. Coffee all day, that's what I'm talking about. Speaking of. DJ Keck says less drives and larger will be more power efficient. I think I agree with that. The tough part though is, you know, if you're doing ZFS stuff, you know, having huge VDEVs gets tough too. Not only for I guess if it's 2 disks, depending on how you do it. It just gets tough because the larger those are, you know, when one fails, the longer it takes to rebuild. So, you know, it's just, you got to balance it out. It's tough, but I agree with that. Less drives, larger is more power efficient. But then, you know, there's a certain cutoff point where, you know, going over, I don't know, 8 or 10 terabytes gets kind of weird for ZFS because the rebuild times are like, it grows like astronomically beyond that. So it's a tough balance. You know, and then you got to have enough. If you go a little bit smaller, then you got to have enough bays to fill it. It's a delicate balance. Storage in general is just as much of an art as it is a science to me. It is. This needs special parameters. Check the Helm. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. There you go. The Helm. I told you he just went through this. The Helm chart creates an ingress and a self-signed cert, but you can pass a flag to give it the TLS cert secret to use. Haha. Yeah, I knew. Thanks, PC Geek. I was like, this all sounds familiar. This is like PC Geek's last day. I mean, the last day he was working on this stuff. But I have an 826 Super Micro, and those bays are begging to be filled. Yeah, it is true, Randoneering, but you know, Wilson's got a Wendell. Wendell. I am calling him by his last name because I knew someone else named Wilson who was just as smart as Wendell, I feel like. Anyways, so Wendell has some advice on this too. I think Tom Lawrence does too. You know, there's a magic number you kinda, if you're using ZFS, that you kinda wanna stick, or you know, it's advisable to stick around there because of rebuild times. Because if you're gonna start doing, you know, I don't know, 14 terabyte ones, you know, that rebuild time when one fails is gonna be a long time. A long time, like mine are. And on top of that, then, you know, things tend to die in pairs, and then, you know, if they do die in pairs or at the same time, you're in a lot of trouble. So I don't know what the magic number is. I know that both Wendell and Tom Lawrence have some good advice on this, on what that number is. I know because I've seen the video numerous times, because I'm always like, because I know I'm doing everything wrong when it comes to ZFS. That was loud in my ear too. Got to remember to put on quiet mode when I'm streaming. I tried all that, but it's not applying. All right, it has to be in the same namespace. It does. Thank you. All right, these are you guys figuring some stuff out. Pressure's up. Hey Tim, I'm setting up Proxmox Pentest Bug Bounty Lab, contemplating the Protectly vaults. Yeah, this all sounds familiar. Not sure which is best, or for least bucks. I like it. Best for least bucks. I like it. I like it when people call money bucks. It just reminds me of being a kid. Anyways, but concerned about performance. 4-port quad core or 6-port Celeron i5 or i7. Any suggestions? Also, what can you use onboard eMMC for boot? Okay, so a lot of questions in here. So you're building a hypervisor. I'll lower this a little bit. So you're building a hypervisor. on Proxmox, and then on there, so you're doing virtualization, you're building a pen test bug bounty lab. So you're building virtual machines that can do pen testing on remote machines, or, you know, scanning remote machines for bug bounties. Sounds awesome. Make some money. Do some automation. Automate your money. I like it. So not sure which is best. You know, do you want a quad core, Celeron, or i5 or i7? So a couple of things. I hate to say it depends, but it does, because there's a lot to break down in here. One, it depends on how many virtual machines are you going to have on that Proxmox node. You're going to have 2, you're going to have 3, you're going to have 4, you know, and then that's maybe not as important as what those individual virtual machines will be doing, or those workloads will be doing. It doesn't even matter. You could have 100 Linux systems on there, and if they're not doing anything but sitting idle, you're kind of okay, because Linux idle is awesome. It's basically idle, unlike Windows. But so it depends on what you're doing. So if you're doing some pen test scanning, I assume you're running some kind of maybe not, agent, right? Agent to scrape stuff on people's websites and looking for exploits. It depends. If it's code written, you know, in a certain language and it's very specific on what it does and what it looks for, you might be good with quad core. Who knows? But if it's like, hey, I'm gonna spin up a headless browser like Puppeteer and go crazy and start scanning stuff, you're gonna need a lot of horsepower. Puppeteer and all of those headless browsers, headless Chrome, they take a lot of resources. I mean, they're like, it's running Chrome. You know, it is headless, so you don't have the UI, but it still has the engine and everything else to behave like Chrome. But allow you to parse out that content that comes back. I've done a lot of scraping stuff. Anyways, if that's what you plan on doing, I would say go big. I would say get i7. I would say I've never, and I've said this to my friend a lot, I've never regretted buying up. I've never regretted buying up. On my phone, I bought too much storage. I haven't regretted it yet. On all of my desktops ever, I've always bought an Intel i7 or i9, you know, whatever the highest one is at the time. I've never regretted it. I've never said, man, I could have saved $100 if I would have went a little bit lower. But the opposite is harder. The opposite is harder when you start running into performance issues or constraints with RAM, and you're like, man, this sucks. If I would have just spent $100 more at the time, I wouldn't be in this situation. Anyways, I'm not saying go crazy and spend all kinds of money. But what I am saying is, like, if we're talking the difference $50, $100, you know, between an i5 and an i7, I mean, if you can't afford it, I don't think you're going to regret getting the extra performance, the extra cores, the extra features that come along with it. So, but then again, like, at the end of the day, it depends on your workloads. I mean, if it's just simple code, I say simple, like, hey, you're writing a client in Go and it's going to do all this stuff, you know, and you're going to execute it. That's super lightweight. But again, if you're going to be using like a headless browser, like Puppeteer, you name it, headless Chrome or Ghost or any of those, and doing stuff based on that takes a lot of work. If you're running someone else's suite, it's most likely going to take a lot of CPU and compute, RAM. So RAM's going to get you. RAM's going to probably get you before CPU, especially if you're doing headless browser stuff. Because, I mean, think when you launch Chrome. I mean, you're doing that inside of, as a process, if you're going to do headless Chrome stuff. So anyways, I've done a ton of scraping. I'm embarrassed to say how much scraping I've done, but it was for a good cause. Maybe it was, I don't know if it was a good cause. Anyways, this is getting weird. Hey, Ben Beyond, thank you so much for the Prime sub. Thank you. I appreciate it. And prior to that, the follow. Thank you. I appreciate it. So anyways, you know, I'm like I said, you know, I when I bought my phone, I bought 512 gigs of storage. I'm still around 200. Do I regret it? No. Because if I would have bought 256 right now, I'd be thinking, what do I need to delete in order to take pictures? You know, it's the same thing on my CPUs. You know, I kind of like, I look at it like an investment. I'm going to have this thing for 3-4 years. You know, I'm kind of locked into maxing that thing out within reason, and then just getting the most out of it during that time. It's what I did with, you know, Mac Pro to an extent, to a lot of my servers. you know, my Intel NUCs, max them out with RAM because I'm like, I just don't want to worry about it. And I know everybody's not in the same, you know, financial situation as everyone else, but within reason. If you're talking, you know, 10, 20% cost difference between getting medium and best, I go best. Anyways, that's just me. Planning on using NFS and definitely 10 gigabit. All right, so for your virtual machines, basically doing iSCSI or building a SAN, kind of, sort of, or doing iSCSI, or you just said it right there, or NFS. Awesome. So you're storing your VMs, hard drives on your NAS, connected via 10 gig, and then over NFS. Awesome. You'll have to let me know. You'll have to let me know versus iSCSI. Speaking of, iSCSI on Proxmox uses the volume only for one VM. Oh, direct attach. Okay, gotcha. Well, that explains that. Mr. DJ Keck, my concern with the ZimaCube is the non-standard barrel plug. That's exactly what I said. I don't mind it for being external, but standard 2.55 millimeters fine. But my major concern is the 4X NVMe. They don't state how many lanes are allocated. They've stated, oh yeah, weird, yeah, oh yeah, good call. Is that overall per drive or either way? Yeah, hey, that is a good call too. I mean, I think you're gonna have to do the lane math yourself. I think you're gonna have to do the lane math yourself though too, right? CPU has whatever, I don't know, I forget how many, 12, you know? Intel, that 12th gen has 20 lanes. Wait, yeah, that Intel I think has 20 lanes. I don't remember. You know, and if you're gonna throw a at some point you're gonna exceed your lanes. I mean, if you're like, hey, I'm gonna throw a video card in there, I'm gonna throw 3 or 4 NVMe drives in there, I'm also gonna throw something else in there, you're gonna exceed your lanes. And that's a limitation of Intel. For some reason we get barely any lanes. Like my next Intel build, I'll have enough lanes for a video card and 1 NVMe drive. Boom, done. Like, thanks, you know? So that's tough. And, you know, it does depend on that board. Once they release more details, if I get one, I'll look into it for sure. But I would just say, though, that, you know, so loud in my ears, so loud. I wish you could hear how loud it is in my ears. But I think the limitation piece is 100% on Intel. And 100% on that board manufacturer too. So, yeah, half of the equation. I agree. I agree. I mean, it's like, hey, they're most likely, I think, using commodity hardware. Although, who knows with that barrel plug? And they're working in the boundaries of the chipset stuff that they have along with the CPU lanes. I mean, at the end of the day, 12th gen Intels only have, I forget how many. I think it's so loud in my ears. I forget at the end of the day. I remember doing the math and thinking, once I use 16x for my video card and 4x for NVMe, I'm out because the CPU has the rest. So it's tough. Desktop boards. I mean, it's Intel. I mean, I blame Intel. There was a queue to get in the game for Fortnite. That's good news. I think that's good. It's not good news for the players, but that's good news. That's good news for Epic. That's good news for this game. That's good news for the community. I think that's a good thing. As much as people don't like that means, unless they're gating it, unless they're artificially gating it, which I doubt because they want people to play the game, I think that's a sign of a healthy game and healthy ecosystem. So yeah, awesome. Can you give me the exact argument that should be used to do that? Because I've read in the docs nothing tried to be working. You guys are still figuring that stuff out. I say jump into Discord for like, hey, let's figure this stuff out right now. Because there's a lot of channels. And PC Geek did figure that stuff out I think just yesterday. How Weston, can you recommend Serve the Home first? Oh, it's not Serve the Home, it's STH. I don't know what STH is. I'm gonna terraform my VMs and LXCs, and I need some user management. Also, auto DNS management on VM LXC creation. DNS issues incoming. So can I recommend STH for? I don't know what STH is. I don't know what the acronym stands for. So I mean, you have a couple you have some options for directory services or user management. I don't know. I don't know STHs. I'm not sure. User management, though, in general, like IAM stuff is tough. I mean, you have your classic, something. All right. Thank you. Ah, man, I need to get with what the kids are saying. Can you recommend something for essential user management? I mean, it depends. I mean, if you want to use directory services like Active Directory, not necessarily, Active Directory, but that protocol, there's OpenLDAP, there's LDAP, there's all kinds of LDAP, there's Microsoft Active Directory. But if you want to do, any kind of anything else, I don't know. I don't do. So my directory services or my account provisioning stuff is a mix between dated stuff, like, and I'm not saying Active Directory is dated, but my knowledge of that was, hey, large enterprise, we're doing Active Directory, right? And then now there's Azure AD. You can do the same thing, but in the cloud, don't manage the infrastructure, right? And then I've done a ton of OAuth stuff as being a developer. You OAuth and you authenticate where you're not the system of record for their authentication. You're the system of record for their authorization. So you basically say, hey, yeah, we're connected to Google, to Facebook, to Twitter, you name it. GitHub, you auth there. If you can auth there, we'll give you some permissions in our system. So then there's that too. And then there's local auth, which have done a ton of stuff too, which is, hey, I'm just going to manage users in a database. Not recommended, but sometimes you got to do it. If you want an internal, authorization system, I mean, that's what you got to do. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's good. I would say, I mean, if you're doing this on your HomeLab, do some OpenLDAP stuff because it seems like Proxmox has a lot of support for that. But yeah, I'm Try that. User management stuff. DNS issues incoming. Oh yeah. So yeah, that's what I would go. That's what I go. Not because it's one of the few things, because it is, but because I think you're going to see a fair number of other people doing that too, and so you'll have, you won't be out in the woods by yourself. You'll be out in the woods with other people saying, "Hey, can you hear me? What's going on?" That's the route I go. That's the route I go. Unless you're going to spin up, Microsoft Active Directory in your HomeLab at home and spin that up and get that going. I mean, OpenLDAP should be simple containers, simple VMs, simple LXC to get going. And then you have tools to manage those, even UIs, open source UIs and stuff to do that too. Let me get a cough and a drink. Okay. Hey, Tim. This is from Dactyl. Hey, Tim. Any advice for a multi-node Proxmox cluster? Hey, real quick. Hey, dude. I missed this. Mr. DJ Keck, dude. Thank you so much for the tier 1 sub. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Awesome. Tier 1 new sub. And then Zebra Cakes. Prime sub. New sub. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. So, hey, Tim, any advice for a multi-node Proxmox cluster setup where you don't have access to the network modifications? Both nodes are in the same subnet and can communicate with one another or to one another. Two, all of the VMs are deployed on each node to be able to talk to one another. Let's see. Any advice for a multi-node? Okay, where you don't have access to modify the network? Okay. Both nodes are in the same subnet and communicate. Okay, all I want, to talk to each other. Yeah, that gets tough. So that gets tough. I see what you mean. So you have 3 nodes all in the same subnet, right? And then they can communicate with each other. You can't change anything on the network. And then each of those nodes have virtual machines that want to communicate with each other. I mean, my initial thought is just have them get just don't do NAT. Don't do NAT from Proxmox and have those machines live their IP or their network be directly connected to the network that they're on. I mean, that's what I do. I don't NAT or bridge anything. So I just let all of my virtual machines grab an IP from DHCP from the subnet that they're on, and they can all communicate. I mean, that should be. I think that's a default behavior. I'd have to look at my steps in Proxmox again. I've built it so many times, even on 8. But creating a VM, I think that should be the default. And then so that would allow all of them to communicate each other because they're on the same network. Yeah, I like it. I like it, Pancake. Or WireGuard. Yeah, that's a good point. You set up WireGuard. Yes. Yeah. So you basically tunnel. You know, you tunnel. If they can't communicate with each other, but they have access to the internet, yeah, then you can set up Tailscale. Exactly. Tailscale, which is WireGuard, Tailscale or something else, zero tier or something, for them to all be able to communicate that way. And so yeah, I mean, but then that requires a whole bunch of additional configuration. So, but if your nodes can communicate each other and those VMs are on the same VLAN, or you don't have any VLANs, and they get an IP address from the network that they're on, then you should be good. I mean, that should be default behavior. But yeah, that sounds awesome. Sounds awesome. When you cluster Proxmox nodes together, they have a private network type communication. I think rsync or something. Xavius, do they? Because that's exactly what I was hoping they would have, that they'd have a way to be able to tunnel to each other. I didn't think they did. It would be awesome if they did, if they created a mesh network between all of them or some secure tunnel so that they could. That is awesome. I hope they do. I hope that's a feature because that would be sweet. That would be sweet. Okay, so it's basically just modifying the network adapter on the VM should leverage the cluster's connection to establish when setting up Proxmox cluster. Yeah, that's the short version of what I was talking about. Boomer, MK, Proxmox on a MacStudio. Are you going to attempt it? Oh man, if I had a spare MacStudio, I would. So this stream right now is running on my MacStudio. It's all running on Mac until I'm doing everything on Mac 100% until I get my new Windows system built. It's sitting right there, but I'm waiting. But anyways, if I had a spare Mac system, I've been thinking about just getting El Cheapo. El Cheapo is actually pretty cheap, one of the cheapest Mac Minis, and doing it. But here's the thing, there's a couple of challenges there. One, I need to get Linux running on ARM, which Asahi is out there might maybe mostly work, kinda, sorta. And then on top of that, I mean, Proxmox has to create an ARM version. And I know that there are like third-party builds of Proxmox that are compiled for ARM, but Proxmox right now isn't supporting ARM. I think it's a whole chicken and the egg thing where they're waiting for, they're waiting for ARM to get more adopted in the data center, to use it. And I think people who are maybe using ARM in the data center are probably wanting, a hypervisor that can also run on ARM. So it's a tough position to be in. A lot of people have been in this position a lot of time. The whole chicken of the egg, like developers and apps, and Windows Phone is a classic example of that, where they had a platform, wanted apps, but developers said they wanted more people to be using it. And so Microsoft bought all the developers for a long time. That didn't go so well. So anyways, last I checked on Proxmox site, they're kind of in this chicken or the egg thing where they're like, hey, we'll see. But hey, is it worth a shot? Maybe someday it would be cool. But I think there are some core things that would need to work too. But it sounds awesome, believe me. But I would have to get a spare Mac Mini to do that, because I wouldn't do it on this MacStudio, only because like this is how I run my run everything right now, because my Windows machine is out of commission for a little bit. Hey Tim, how about maple? Yeah, with white and gray stain to match your gray finish on your rack. Don't know, just thinking out loud in my brain. No, hey, you nailed it, because I was talking about maple. Yeah, I mean that's kind of my color, man. I kind of like my home stuff light and bright, and I like my tech stuff dark. And what rhymes with dark? I don't know. Dark and Smark. I have no idea. But anyways, yeah, you nailed it on the color scheme too. Please, can we get Halloween pics? You can't describe all this in the show. Xavier, yeah, I'll post them on Instagram later today. I promise. I promise. I'll have to find the one that my wife allows me to post because we're both in it. I 100% will. Just find me on Instagram. I think it's techno.tim. But if you search TechnoTim and you see my typical logo, that's me. But yeah, I will for sure. If it's got an Intel CPU, it can be done. I agree. MacStudio is Apple Silicon. Exactly. And so, yeah, it's tough. It's tough because, yeah, it has to support ARM. Oh, for sure. Oh, I like that. I didn't know that was the one he had. Oh, for sure. I didn't know that was the one he had. Let's see. Hey, TechnoTim, I know your whole infrastructure is built around Proxmox, but would you be down for switching it up and redeploying your Kubernetes cluster to OpenStack configuration? Maybe not at this time. I don't know. I have evaluated OpenStack a couple of times, and I keep looking at it because it is interesting, right? It's this whole like hyper-converged idea, or having, you know, basically a SD whatever software-defined infrastructure in one setting, you know, or one place, single pane of glass for both your VMs and your containers, and it sounds cool. It sounds cool. I just need to. You know, I have explored it. Maybe I need to explore it again, but I'm so happy with Proxmox. And that's not just me, like, you know, resting on my laurels. It's me, like, using Proxmox every day, all day for the last couple of years to run my whole business and all of my self-hosted stuff and all the stuff you see that's out there on the web. Like, I'd say all the platforms you see, all the things you see out there from me, my website and everything, it's all self-hosted in my Kubernetes on my Proxmox server in my basement, you know? And so it's been so stable and so nice for me to do that I don't, it would have to, there'd have to be some value there. I'm not trying to go all like, you know, project manager and stuff on here, but I run my business. It sounds like I got so much going on, but all the things you see that are running, public or not public, are running in there. You know, it's some stuff on Twitch, it's Twitter, it's even the bots in Discord. You know, it's all running there. All of my video storage is in there, and so that's a huge lift. That's a huge lift for me to yank it out, explore it, maybe. If I see a ton of value there, maybe. But for now, it's like, you know, it's great, it's stable, and Proxmox just keeps getting better. So I'm like, you know, what am I going to get by switching and learning a new platform? Probably a lot more real world experience. To answer my own question, I'd learn a lot more, obviously. But I don't think I would tear down. I think I would build side by side and then decide later. And I'm going to have some new infrastructure stuff, new to you, and I guess new to me, here in a little bit too. Maybe not even in my home. We'll see. Cloudflare Outage was a pain since I needed to add a PTR record for an IP, but I couldn't log in to do it. LOL. It was a pain. It was a pain all around. I assume it was for you with what you've got going on in your website and your service and stuff. I bet it was, man. I bet it was. For me, it was a pain. Mainly because it was the one task I had to do on Thursday. The one thing, like, I cleared my calendar. This is what I'm doing today, the Shopify stuff, and I'm plowing through it, and I couldn't do any of it. It was like, you're killing me. I couldn't create I created a new account, but then I couldn't create a new store in Shopify. Then I could create a new store. Then I couldn't create new products. And it was like every time I wanted to create a new entity in Shopify, it was like step 4 of the wizard that would fail. I was like, this is killing me. This is killing me. Let's see. Hey, I think I answered that one. Any suggestions? I did. NZ Vengeance. Just finished installing Docker for the first time in Ubuntu on Proxmox and got Portainer and Plex up and running in containers. Hey, congratulations, Vengeance. That is awesome, man. So Docker for the first time in Ubuntu on Proxmox, and then you got Portainer going, and then Plex running in Docker, but you're going to manage it in Portainer. That is awesome. Congratulations. That is that's a pretty good stack. That's like my go-to stack. Go-to stack, especially for single node stuff. Yeah, Docker, Portainer, plus containers running on Ubuntu in Proxmox. A lot of layers to pass stuff through, which I assume if you're running Plex, it's because you have a video card, and you're going to have to do the same thing I talked about earlier if you haven't already, is pass that video card down through to that virtual machine, and then you're going to have to get your Docker service to be able to communicate with the NVIDIA driver, which is just, you know, it's a couple of steps from NVIDIA, but that's the link to get Docker to be able to communicate with the drivers in the OS for your NVIDIA card. But awesome, congratulations. I love hearing stuff like that, especially the first time. Let's see. Let's see. What do you prefer now that you have the MacStudio with the huge daily for daily Mac OS or Windows? That I mean, it's tough because my Windows machine is right there and it's not on. It could be on. I'll say that. It could be on, but it's so much older. It's so much louder. One thing that I have realized on my MacStudio, the fans never kick on. Never. This thing does not make a noise. I can render stuff and all 18 cores are at 100%, zero noise. I mean, I'm talking zero. I could put my head to it and I don't hear anything, which is pretty awesome. But it's tough. Then there's so many quirks. There's like, you know, scaling in Mac OS sucks. You know, Mac OS doesn't remember this resolution when it goes to sleep. Like there's a handful of things that, like, you know, I don't love. But then there's a handful of things that I do love. Like, man, it's fast, man, it's efficient, and it is so stable. But then I'm just gonna say, I hate File Explorer in Mac OS. I'll go out on a limb and say Windows has the best File Explorer ever. Now, I would even say better than Linux. And I'm being straight up honest about that. Like, I think Windows has put a ton of effort into making Windows Explorer pretty good. And as much as I poke at Windows, I love Windows. I've been a Windows fan for a long time. I mean, ask any of my friends. They would give me so much crap about how much I loved Windows. I love Mac OS too. I love Linux too. I mean, I have different use cases for them all. But I will say, Microsoft has built the best File Explorer. And it's not just because it's what I'm used to. It's just because they've thought through about how people use the File Explorer and how people want to use it and how people do use it. I mean, simple things just like arranging folders alphabetically, automatically, you know, things like your shortcuts always working on the left and your favorites being there and working. I know that Mac Finder has that. And just scaling the whole UI seamlessly, just saying, I'm going to go 300%, you know, or 125% on my UI and scaling everything. Like Windows just like blows Mac OS away in those areas. And I don't know, I mean, you know, arguably, like, hey, more things are shifting to the cloud. Do you need your local file system File Explorer? Maybe that's why Mac OS puts zero focus on it. I don't know. I honestly don't think that's it. I think they just don't want to put any effort into it. But Microsoft seems to keep making File Explorer better. And it is so great. It's, you know, even simple things like map drives. I know you shouldn't use map drives and you should use shares and all that. But sometimes that's the only way to trick an application to play stuff, is if it has a drive litter. I mean, I run into so many weird things with Finder that I'm just like, oh, you know, that's the one thing where I wish Apple would put some more, you know, focus on it. I don't know why they don't. It just, I'll be honest, Finder sucks. Like Ubuntu, GNOME Finder is so much better. GNOME's files, you know, their Explorer is better, way better. And that's free and open source, you know, not that it shouldn't be worse, but you know, volunteers are making that better. People at Canonical arguably get paid, but GNOME stuff, you know, whatever. But yeah, Finder is so bad. Sorry, I went down this path of like things that are bad in Mac OS. Finder is definitely one of them. I wish Mac and Windows would combine forces. Never happen. But I wish I could take the best of Windows, best of Linux, best of Mac, and create something. But it'll never happen. It'll never happen. So, anyways, but everything else I love. I love how stable it is. I love how fast it is. I love other things being integrated. You know, I'm not going to go into like all the reasons. But man, oh man, my workflow is so much better now. I have an iPhone. I have an Android phone too for testing. I've done mobile development for a long time, but I choose, it's my daily, is an iPhone. And having the two together with text messaging, with photos, with iCloud, it's a game changer for my workflow. You know, before I was like on Windows, transfer stuff up to Google Drive to then download it, you know, wherever on my phone, like later on, which is fine, but it's a workflow killer. So, and you know, you do that enough times and you're like, this kind of stinks. Like, I just wish Windows could integrate with iMessages and iCloud and whatever. Take the services out of the way. I wish I could seamlessly move files from my desktop to my phone on any phone, any platform, and that's not where we're at. And so, you know, anyways, but it's it's so nice. Like for my workflow, video workflow, and even my real life workflow, it's awesome. And I've used a Mac for, I don't know, 8-9 years for software development. This isn't a new thing. It's just, hey, now I have a desktop version of my laptop, which my laptop's still right here. So my MacBook. So anyways, Windows keeps getting better and better and better. And, I know there's a lot of shade people throw on Windows 11, but I honestly love Windows 11, except for Edge. I pretty much hate Edge. And I don't know. Sorry, I'm not going to keep punching on Windows, but Edge was great until they added like a billion toolbars to it, and arguably, I don't think like the Bing chat stuff needs to be in the start menu. I don't know. If I could take the simplicity of GNOME's file app launcher and get rid of the start menu altogether and put that on Windows, that'd be great. But I do love Windows 11 overall. Like, it looks great, feels great, runs great. I just don't like, I don't know. It's like, hey, if I want ChatGPT and Bing, I'll go to them, and that's where I'm kind of like, that's where it's a little bit, rubbing me in the wrong way. I'm sure it's rubbing a lot of people the wrong way, but I do love the other features I get with it. But I don't know this, and so Edge in general, like, great. I just think they baked way too much Microsoft stuff into it, and I get it. Like, that's exactly what they wanted to do. And arguably Chrome has all that stuff too. Not exactly, as Google services baked into it. But I don't know. Maybe I should. Maybe I'll be fine with it if I just hide the right side toolbar that has Bing and 1,000 things in it. But then it's like I go to a website. Hey, we have coupons for this website. Hey, I didn't even know you were checking for coupons. Like, get out of here. Like those types of things. It's kind of like I get it. Like Edge, the old Edge and the older Edge. This is like the third version of Edge they've had. Second. Third. I don't know how many Edges they've had. This is light years beyond what the previous Edge was and what Microsoft Internet Explorer was. Especially being a software developer, having more consistent ways to target browsers is a good thing. But then, not having enough competition is not a good thing either. And, like it or love it, even though, Edge wasn't, basically Chrome or WebKit before, it's, we have less competition now. So now we got Safari and we got, all of Chrome, which includes Edge, Chromium, I guess I should say, and Firefox. So less competition now, which is typically not a good thing. It's good for developers, but not a good thing for the market. So anyways, I'm going off on a tangent. I know I am. I have lots of things to say. And, when I say it's terrible, I'm not downplaying like, hey, these are people's jobs. These are great technologies. It's taken a lot of work. A lot of smart people have worked on them. It's a billion, gazillion times better than anything I could make. So when I dunk on it, it's only coming from a place of frustration, and that's not to say that it's not important, because it is. Anyways, bring back Netscape. Yeah, Netscape Navigator. I remember one of the first times I surfed the web. The school I was at had Netscape Navigator on there, and I just remember that little comet flying through the sky, or maybe it was a comet, and circling around the lighthouse. And I thought, that is the best animation ever. That is awesome. It was awesome. Yeah. So, anyways, hey, DJ Keck, can you tell you've tapped into a lot of my recent experiences? Anyway, so I am building a new Windows 11 machine. That one's just off temporarily. I have a new one that's going to be in a Sliger case, water cooled, and rack mounted. I'm just waiting on kind of getting the parts together and pulling the trigger. I feel like I've been doing so many build new things videos lately. I got to take a pause on build new stuff, and I got to like use the stuff that I have. Well, that car is pretty loud. All right. Feels like I'm back in Indiana. But so I gotta take a pause and build new stuff, and I gotta like use the stuff I have, because I could build new stuff all day, and sometimes that's kind of like it's just beating you over the head with, hey, I got this new thing. Hey, I got this new thing. But all this is trying to set me up for the next year. October, November is usually when I set myself up for the next year. It always is, because things are cheaper, there's deals, and I gotta write off some tax money. Not kidding. So I thought I was in the wrong stream for a second. Bill Nash, yeah, how's it going? Sup, Tim? Working on ISE now, especially. Oh, that was your sub message. Also, did you check out Netcool rules on my GitLab server? I did look at them on GitHub, on GitLab. It was GitLab, but I don't understand anything about Netcool. But when you posted it and tagged me in Discord, I looked at it, but like I don't understand Netcool stuff. But yeah, font size 10 on your chat pop-ups. I should, but I think there's a responsive setting where I say, hey, if it goes above, a certain height, it will, responsively condense the chat down to fit. Basically, it's like a max height on the window, and then just say, hey, then at that point you're gonna condense the font or make the font smaller. Nginx proxy manager for the win. Yeah, if you want to make life simple, yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay, guys, I went way longer than I was supposed to. I realized, hey, I streamed earlier today. I didn't even call that out, but I did stream earlier, and now I seem to be going super long because I'm like, I don't know why. But anyways, I'm gonna look for, let's see. I don't know. What should I, you should do a build video on your new PC. I'm going to. I absolutely am going to. I'm going to do it. For sure. I just need to get the parts together. And again, like I don't want to, I can't keep doing build stuff over and over and over. New build stuff. I don't know. I need to switch some stuff up. Just mentally, I need to too. Like, so I got something cool that has nothing to do with build new. Coming soon. Anyways, hey, thank you all so much for joining in. I went a little bit earlier. I told you guys it was going to be today at 3 Central. I went in roughly around noon Central, so I thank you so much for hopping in. If you just tuned in midstream and you have no idea when I go live, you can get notifications from Twitch or in Discord. If you join our Discord, run ! Discord. This is sign language for me for ! I don't know why. Also telling semis to honk their horn. ! Discord. ! Discord will get you a link to our Discord server. Thank you so much. There it is. And then you could join our Discord server, and in there you can even sign up for notifications there too, if you want. Totally optional. But there's a lot of people there who know a lot of stuff, and we talk about a lot of stuff. We're probably going to talk about a lot of stuff that came up here in the stream here too. I will be back next Saturday. I'll have something going on next Saturday, as will Yakto. I think he said he's doing his extra live stream next Saturday, so you got to check him out. Maybe if he's on, we'll check him out too. And I will have hopefully something here pretty soon. The other thing I've been working on YouTube, so we'll see. But thank you so much for tuning in. Not really a surprise team, but unannounced at the specific time, so I appreciate it. There was lots of follows. There was lots of subs. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Helps me continue to do what I want to do, and it's this and more. So I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good Saturday. Have a good rest of the weekend, and take care, folks. Be good to each other. Take care.